Hating, feeling intense and deep dislike or hostility towards a person. When it comes to all forms of media and real life, hating has become a prominent subculture of the human species. Some of the biggest haters of all time are Kendrick Lamar, Sukuna, and Reverse Flash.
Remember when you were making out with your first girlfriend, and you came right as she touched your leg? It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed so it seemed like you nutted at just a woman's touch.
As you've seen on my channel, I'm creating a hall of fame of nonsensical nonsense media that continuously produce high levels of bullshit, but up until now, it's only been entire shows as a whole. Well, that's about to change, because allow me to introduce you to the first solo entry into the hall of nonsense, Dio Brando.
Bruh, he was dead, bruh. If he wanted you out of there, he'll go do it himself on feet by himself.
That's what I'm saying, man. Shorty was a bad. Something was wrong with him. That's not human, man. You're not regular, man.
But I was happy as hell when I found out Vaughn was dead. Nigga, I cooked for the whole day.
The pettiest British hater in the history of hating, Dio hates the Joestars more than Uncle Ruckus hates the black man. People praise LeBron James for his longevity in the NBA, but Dio has low-key been putting up even better stats than the king himself. One of Shaitan's greatest soldiers was Dio Brando. It's about time we analyze the felonious acts of Dio. So let's cut the yapping and get straight into the meat and potatoes. Before we can truly understand the mind of this psychopath, we must first go back to the Bloodborne map, the United Kingdom. 1880. We first off see Dio's dad, and you know the saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because he sees a dead family and instead of calling 911, he starts looting their bodies. Turns out the guy was Jonathan Joestar, who turns out to be Jonathan Joestar's father. He'll be important later down the line. So fast forward and we meet Dio, who's with his father, and his father is doing bad out here. He's out here looking like a law accurate version of Uncle Ruckus. They show us the different living conditions between Dio and Jonathan, and to sum things up real quick, Jonathan is living at large. He's got a nice house, a cute snow bunny, and good eats, whereas Dio is in the slums. His house looks like the farmhouse from Courage the Cowardly Dog, and he's literally playing chess just so that he can afford his next meal. And to make things even worse, his pops is dying. But don't feel bad for him, because at his own dad's funeral, he starts cussing him out and then spits on his grave.
You are a worthless, bitch ass nigga. Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant. Fuck.
He takes the letter his dad gave him to the Joestar family because George Joestar believes Dio's dad saved his life. Now a few moments later, Dio pulls up to the Jojo's mansion in extravagant fashion and meets Jonathan. But not even 10 seconds have passed and Dio John Jones flying knee kicks Jonathan's dog. And when I was watching this, I was like, yo, what the dog do? Look at the way it's twitching on the ground. Someone called John Wick. Jonathan wastes no time and gets ready to squabble, but that's when the dad comes in and explains that Dio is going to start living in the Jojo's mansion and is to be treated as family. So Jonathan tries to overlook the bullshit that he just witnessed and helps Dio carry his bag. But this man Dio has been watching too much Cobra Kai, because he grabs him by the arm, spins him around, and then hits him with a backward elbow straight to the chest, all because he wanted to help. So life goes on and Jonathan is having a boxing match, but the person he was supposed to be fighting pulled out, so now he has to run the ones with Dio. Ladies and gentlemen, we got pretty boy Jojo versus young nigga Dio. Let the squabble commence. Jojo is hot out the gate and tries to hit Dio with a gum gatling, but he cannot connect. Look at Dio, he's weaving and dodging like Prime Muhammad Ali. I know Dio main squeeze on Sparking Zero the way he's Sonic swaying. Dio counters with a heavy punch to the gut and an overhand right to the face. This might be the first time in the history of fighting that I have seen an actual knuckle sandwich. Oh my goodness, Dio sent Jojo flying with a serious punch like a Fall Guys character. This is diabolical. Is there anything he's not good at? I wanna see Dio versus Duke Dennis. Damn man, my goat Jonathan going out sad. He lost his dad's approval, his friends, and now his pride. But hey, at least he still got his snow bunny, you know? This was really when I started to hate Dio. This man sensed that Jonathan had an ounce of happiness in his life and proceeded to SA and then beat his girlfriend. What in the Chris Brown antics even is this? If I see one more fangirl on Twitter defending this sociopath, I'm going to isekai myself. But Dio should have known better than to take Jonathan's girl, because there is nothing scarier than a man that has nothing to lose. Jojo pulls up to Dio ready to squabble, eats the knee, shakes it off and hits Dio with a John Fury headbutt and just starts unloading on bro. He really used the Hajime no Ippo Dempsey roll. I'm sick. And then he lands the finishing blow, leaving Dio looking like Squidward. And if you're not from the UK, you may not understand what's about to happen, but this right here is a certified British classic. When we lose a fight, we don't pull out the Switch, the ray guns, the RPGs, we pull out our Zampak toes. Dio was about to turn Jonathan into SpongeBob, but his dad pulls up and instead of punishing Dio, he punished his own son. George, listen to me, you're a part of the problem. So if this was Naruto, they'd have their big fight and after everything would be okay, but this is Jojo Jojo's. So the next morning, the butler goes to take out the trash and sees a loot crate in the incinerator. But he thinks it's just some more trash, so he lights the incinerator. But as that happens, he starts hearing noises, and like a Family Guy cutaway, we see them bury the dog. Dio, you sick psychopath. If I had to put you in a tier list ranked on evilness, you'd be S tier, right up there with P. Diddy and the Joker. This man Jonathan has nothing. No matter how many Vinland Saga edits you show me, I could never forgive Dio. Fast forward and 7 years have passed, but Dio and Jojo are now friends? When I first clicked this episode, I had to make sure I wasn't watching some type of OVA, because no way Jonathan is shaking hands with his biggest hater. I would have had to do bro like Young Thug. Seems like I was right though, and turns out they still both hate each other. During the time skip, Jojo's dad became very ill, and he asked to go to the hospital. But Dio was like, the hospital? You don't gotta go to the hospital, bro. They're gonna charge you like 10 bands. But that made Jonathan look at Dio sideways, because he was like, 10 bands? We are rich. So Jonathan goes on his Sherlock Holmes timing and ends up finding out that Dio poisoned not only George, but he also poisoned his own father, the man that raised him, his dad, his papa, his baba. What in the Toya type antics is even going on? If his pops wasn't safe, then no one is. Dio, realizing he's been caught, tries to crack Jonathan, but Jonathan just eats it and hits him with a Ganondorf command grab, throwing him over the ledge for maximum fall damage. Some time passes, and instead of telling his father about Dio straight away, he decides to get the medicine tested so that he can get sufficient evidence for the case. Jonathan is really building a FBI level Rico case right now. Whilst Jonathan is on a side mission, Dio is wandering the streets drinking and talking to himself because he fumbled the plan. He ends up running into the Penguin and Tombstone, but Dio isn't trying to hear all that, so he cracks this man with a bottle. And remember what I said earlier, the moment we lose, we back out our Nichiren swords. Dio pulls out the stone mask and sticks it on this NPC, seemingly killing him. But the mask turns out to come with some built-in stat booster and turns bro into a superpowered zombie. This is basically what the Goblin mask was doing to Norman Osborn. The guy begins to suck Dio dry, no diddy, but just as it seemed like he was about to meet his end, the sun starts rising, killing the demon. A few hours goes by and Dio goes home just to realize that he's been hit with a light Yagami level Rico case. They got this man in 360p committing his nefarious actions. So in a final act of desperation, he pulls another Queen's Gambit, equips his Excalibur and turns George Joestar into Swiss cheese before putting on the mask. And just as he does that, they up the pole on him. So you mean to tell me this whole time you guys had access to the American forbidden ninjutsu and only now decided to use it? They lit Dio up, but this man Dio don't turn into a Castlevania character. He spins back and just bodies the entire room. Jojo equips his Serpent Hunter spear to fight back, but Dio just full counters and stabs him in the shoulder. Dio tries to test out his powers, but Jonathan just lures him into the room and begins burning bro alive. Sadly for Jonathan, Dio just popped a fire res potion and starts walking straight up the wall, defying gravity. Dio really gained vampire powers and turned 10 times more zesty. Jonathan lures Dio onto the roof so he can rugby tackle him straight onto a spike, turning bro into shish kebab. Anything is possible! Anything is possible! Dio's been packed, Jojo and his snow bunny have reunited, and they all live happily ever after. No, not quite.
I knew it was fake! I knew it! I knew it!
Yeah, you guessed it. Dio is still alive and he finds Jack the Ripper, one of the fiercest serial killers the UK has ever seen, and turns bro into his servant. But that's not all he does. He goes on a spree just spreading hate and negativity. He's been getting busy with the local maidens and then just offing them when he's done. He also revived 2 demons who served the previous Queen of England so they can fight Jojo on his behalf. And I'm not gonna lie, Dio is low-key moving like an Elden Ring player. He really equipped 3 god tier summons to fight his battles for him. And whilst his minions are having a war, this man Dio brought a woman with a baby, and even now, I'm just thinking to myself, what could he possibly need this single mother for? The woman begins to beg him to take her and leave the baby, so Dio's like, I bet, and turns her into a vampire zombie, but because she lost her senses, she ends up eating her own baby. And Dio just stands there like a demon, grinning ear to ear, and after just witnessing the most grotesque thing known to man, he just looks at the camera and says, well, technically, we didn't do anything to your baby, hehehehe. Dio makes Sukuna look like a kind-hearted father figure. Pure diabolical nonsense. On the other side of things, Jojo is on some type of training arc, basically learning chakra control to even the playing field for his fight against Dio. So Jojo, Zeppeli and Speedwagon end up storming Dio's castle, but to make a long story short, they end up packing up all their mini bosses, lost one of the realest characters in all of fiction, shout out Zeppeli, and are now standing face to face with Dio. Jonathan pulls out his blasphemous blade, coats it with Hamon, and then hits Dio with the Shanks Deluxe and ends up cutting bro in half like Freezer. Dio tries to fight back, but Jonathan hits us with a legendary finish, charges up up a literal falcon punch, adding Dio to the Donut Clan. Jonathan gave Dio the works, left him looking like Eren Yeager. I really thought this gremlin was about to kiss him. A couple months goes by and Dio marries Princess Zelda. They plan on moving to America and end up living a happily ever after. Psych! Did you really think Dio's hatred was that weak? Whilst Jojo is on his honeymoon, this man Dio and his boyfriend pull up on him, and bro is literally just a talking head. They really got bro out here looking like Master Eon from Skylanders. This is diabolical. Bro has no body, no limbs, no schmeat. The only thing that gets him up in the morning is pure hate. Dio catches Jonathan lacking and hits him with a double death beam, but Jonathan, in a last stand effort, decapitates the New Yorker and captures Dio, forcing them to burn together. And finally, this is the end of Dio Brando.
Stupid, I'm not gonna let you get the chance.
So during this time skip, Dio stole Jonathan's body and was in a casket at the bottom of the sea for 100 years. Any normal person would have gone insane, started reflecting, maybe even turned to God, but not Dio. This man was in the casket straight plotting, conniving, scheming. Imagine being so mad at your op, you want to continue to smoke with his great-great-grandson. Just to get you guys up to speed, our new main character is Jotaro Kujo, who is the grandson of Joseph Joestar and the great-great-grandson of Jonathan Joestar. After the first two parts of JoJo's, they decided to abandon the previously known power system of Harmon and just started using stands. Jotaro's mother gets ill, and Jotaro, Joseph, Avdol, Kakyoin, Polnareff, and Izzy all go on an adventure to try and stop Dio in an attempt to save Jotaro's mother. That's basically the gist of things, but this ain't a video about the JoJo's, this is a video about Dio's pure, unfiltered hatred. This man's aura was so insane that for like the first 30 to 40 episodes, we did not see his face. We only heard of bro through stories and random pictures. They really gave him the same treatment as Madara Uchiha. Fast forward, and after fighting an orangutan, a Mario Kart player, a gambling addict, Ice Spice, an actual literal falcon, and a bunch more random NPCs, they finally arrive at Dio's mansion, and he's already on petty timing. Polnareff finally comes face to face with Dio and tries to walk towards him, but with each step he takes, he ends up somehow lower down the stairs. Allow me to explain. This man Dio has a stand ability that allows him to stop time for a certain amount of time, but instead of just offing Polnareff, this sassy petty femboy is essentially stopping time, picking up Polnareff and moving him down the stairs, returning him to his original position, and then resuming time. Bro, I'm weak. What could possibly possess bro to do something so childish like... Dio ends up escaping because of the sunlight, and they decide to track him down. Turns out Dio fled the city to take some IG flicks, because what is this pose? No one is watching, bro. I know he put this on the gram talking about some this Joestar beef is eternal, no Mangekyo. Every minute that passes in JoJo's, I'm slowly starting to understand why he gets compared to Baki, because Dio is walking through the city and finds this car. The bodyguard protecting it lets us know that it belongs to the US senator, but Dio does not care and turns his hand straight into spaghetti and then gets in a car and makes the senator of the US drive his car. Now, where have we seen this before? That's right, Yujiro made the president of the United States his personal taxi driver too. Dio and Yujiro are both equally ignorant. Kakyoin managed to ensnare Dio in his trap, but that's when Dio exposes his stand, Zawardo, and turns Kakyoin into one of the founding fathers of the Donut Clan. Dio is now trying to suck the soul out of Joseph Joestar, because if he manages to drink his blood, he'll get some type of crazy Zenkai boost. But whilst chasing him, Joseph manages to realize that Dio has the ability to time leap. However, it's too late, because Dio lands his iconic Zawado and then stabs Joseph in the neck. Jotaro was always gonna stand on business though. He moved into that pocket and they start squabbling. They are pretty even. Stand battles always seem so funny to me. Imagine just being a bystander and witnessing a whole earthquake whilst two 6'8", 350-pound men are just staring at each other. Dio uses Zawardo and stops time on Jotaro, but just as he goes to finish the job, Jotaro twitches, causing Dio to bug out. Turns out Jotaro and Dio both have very similar stand abilities. They are really flying through the air like a bunch of Super Saiyans. Dio stops time again, but just as he goes for the finishing blow, Jotaro hits a full counter and tries to make Dio join the Donut Clan. Dio begins regenerating and pulls out a bunch of knives and throws them at Jotaro. Dio is an Englishman through and through. Dio resumes time and Jotaro manages to block most of the blades except for a few that pierced him in the chest. However, Jotaro conveniently had a book that he used to protect himself from a fatal blow, so he's now waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Dio takes the bait and lands the wildest serious punch of all time. That punch had some vim behind it, got Dio out here hitting the stanky leg, straight brain damage. And to finish it all off, he lands a mura to send Dio packing like Team Rocket. Or so we thought. This man's hatred is so potent. Even when he's looking like Yamcha, he's still out there pushing forward. I gotta respect it. He runs over to Joseph's body, slurps him dry, and somehow turns even more zesty. How is that even possible? They gave him a skin tight tank top, green lips and nails, and the Super Saiyan Gohan haircut. This ain't it. Dio is straight bugging out right now. It looks like he popped a Broly boost. He continues to land a combo chain on Jotaro, and Jotaro keeps struggling with the quick time events. He gets him down on the floor and does the most diabolical, random nonsense we have seen in this show yet.
I just lost my dog, and my brother taught me how to chase the bag. Get right in the field, I had to make a bag. The day he lost his soul, wish I could take it back.
This man Dio cannot be a real person. Who even thinks this during a fight? This moment single-handedly landed him a spot in the Hall of Nonsense. Make yourself comfortable. Dio thinks he's won the battle, but no matter how much hatred you have in your heart, you simply cannot defeat the main character of the show, Asukune. And as I've only seen up to part 3, this surely should be the end of Dio's 120 years of hatred. He rightfully deserves his place in the Hall of Nonsense. But hey, if you want to see me cover other JoJo's arcs, let's get this video to like 5k likes, and also make sure to subscribe. I'm in a race to 100k with my homies, so support your boy. If you want to watch my Baki videos or any other videos on my channel, you can watch them right here. That's it from me. Peace. Oh, and follow me on Instagram.